everybody. Welcome back to Crime and Coffee. I'm Allison.
And I'm Mike.
It's good to have you here.
Yeah. Hey, you too. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome.
Oh, you were talking to them.
Yeah, I was talking to them. You live here, so...
But it's probably good to have me, I would imagine.
It is good to have you.
Yeah.
Always.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Always and forever.
Yeah, well, I got my coffee here. Thank you so much for brewing some. It's
You're
delicious.
welcome.
Got that nice espresso shot in here.
Yes,
so.
gotta have that Nespresso shot. I remember you got me that machine for Christmas, like maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and I was like, what's this? We already have a coffee maker. And you're like, oh no. And you created a monster because those pods are kind of expensive.
Well, it's a nice way to add like another $30 bill per month.
Exactly.
Yeah, because then it's just, sometimes there's so much money in the account. You want to get rid of it as quickly as you can. So like, what else can I add? You have, Netflix, Hulu, your other monthly things like, grass cutting and things of that nature. But let's add some espresso pods.
Exactly. So you're welcome. You should say you're welcome.
You're welcome.
But my dream is always that I wake up to somebody having brewed me coffee. But because I get up the first in the household, it never happens.
Way to set your goals high in life.
So unless you start waking up at 3:30 in the morning, then you won't be brewing me coffee.
Yeah. Well, I leave some pods out for you.
Yeah, that's sweet.
From time to time. And you're all about kind of saving time. So just being, maximizing efficiency every time. So something little like that. That's why it's so weird that somebody making you a cup of coffee is such a big deal, because
it's a treat.
It takes one step out of your morning.
It's just such a treat to have a prepared cup of coffee handed to you.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm always enamored by that in the movies when somebody comes in with one of those like coffee carriers and just surprises someone with handing them a coffee. I'm like, that never happens to me.
Why doesn't that happen to me?
Nobody brings me coffee.
That's another thing I love, watching movies like romantic comedies, like where they're like, hey, the guy bought this girl a car, or he made a book and published it and it was all about her, or wrote her a story, or wrote her a song and sang it in Manhattan or something like that. You're like, why don't you ever do that for me?
No, I don't.
Well, those were extreme examples, but consistently, what I find successful is if you compare your life to like movies and always like thinking, why don't I have the things in movies?
Right?
Yeah,
that's going to be a recipe for disaster if you're trying to compare your relationship to that of a movie scene or even a book scene.
Right.
We were watching that show 9 Perfect Strangers on Hulu.
Wonderful show.
And Melissa McCarthy's character is an author, and she said, don't ever compare your relationship to something you're seeing or reading.
I look at you right away.
Yeah. I don't do that. Maybe
No,
when I was 25 years old, I did that. But
Sure.
reality has hit me like a ton of bricks. Don't you worry, Mike.
And his name is Mike.
His name is Mike. And he's sitting in front of me.
I mean, I've been trying for years to set those expectations super low. So it's not like, without trying really hard.
Like, for instance, Mike took over on our Family Friday pizza nights. We make homemade dough. He was making the dough because I was working 2 jobs at the time. And then all of a sudden our daughter saw that I prepared the dough for whatever reason. We were short, like you were doing something. She's like, this is the fluffiest dough ever. Oh my gosh, it turned out so good. And you're like, well, mommy made it. And now I'm back to being the dough maker.
Well, I'm glad you're part of our family experience on
Well,
Fridays.
I was always sitting there on the bar stool watching you guys make pizza.
Yeah, and barking orders, like turn around. I want to be able to see you guys. We're in the midst of making pizza. We don't need to be parked at.
I sometimes want to be left out of these tasks.
Whoa, turn around. That's basically what you sound
That's what I sound like to you?
Yeah.
Great, thank you.
You had a good week this week?
I had a good week, busy as per usual.
Yeah, work's been crazy for me. It's just end of quarter and the sales time. It's time to get stuff done. So
yeah,
we'll see if there's some things can close. But you know what I like about the weeks where you do stories is I just get to sit down and be a listener, just like the rest of our listeners here.
It is nice.
Yeah.
It's nice to just sit back and listen to a tale.
Yeah, but at the same time, I feel like I'm not directly contributing because I'm not actively researching something. But at the same time, we're all researching in the background for the next story. And all
Yeah,
that,
somehow I don't think you are, though.
You know me. I like to prepare.
I like to have a story in my back pocket ready to go.
I work better with deadlines.
Mike and I are very different.
Which is why we work. Like what they say is you fill each other's holes in more ways than one. You know what I'm saying?
Oh my gosh, so inappropriate. So anyway, I guess we'll get started. So this is my week to present, and this little lady that I'll be talking about.
A lady,
yes.
Whoa.
I know, right?
Mm-hmm.
Her name is Vickie Dawn Jackson, and you're a good person when a nickname that's assigned to you is the Angel of Death. right? You know
Yeah.
you're going to be a good person.
Sounds like a good tattoo.
Yeah. The angel of
Like,
death.
oh, don't mess with that chick. She's got the angel of death on her shoulder, or tramp stamp.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So Vickie here she's still alive. She's an American serial killer. She killed at least 10 people between the year 2000 and 2001. So a very short span of time.
Wow.
And this was all done in one location, Nocona General Hospital in Nocona, Texas.
Okay.
And she used a little drug called mivacurium chloride, or also called Mivacron. And it's basically a skeletal muscle relaxant that's used with anesthesia for surgery. It's also used when a patient's being put on the ventilator, being intubated.
So she's a doctor? Or...
No, she was in the nursing field.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You know what's interesting? How people if somebody says they're a nurse, they're like, "Oh my gosh," and then they think they know everything like a doctor or like anything else would, which a lot of times they do.
Yeah, nurses are the ones that are with the patients for 12 hours, you know, whereas a doctor breezes in, breezes out. Granted, they're the ones that are prescribing, and then the nurses are, administering.
Sure.
Nurses, I work, obviously, I don't know if I mentioned, I work in a hospital. I'm a clinical dietitian, but I work very closely with nurses and doctors, but nurses have a very hard job. That is no doubt in my mind. And, I might deal with a patient that's just a real piece of work for 15, 20 minutes, whereas they're dealt with this person for 12 hours.
Well, and you've talked about being a nurse before. You were like, well, maybe I should go to nursing because it's in demand. And, you can kind of call your shots in some areas, depending on what kind of nurse you are.
Right.
Traveling nurses make it. I mean, if you're young and you're looking for a gig, like traveling nurse is kind of the way to go.
It is. Yeah. If you have that freedom and to move around, because they're paying for your lodging too. And you get bonuses for it. And you get to see different parts of the country where, now even if I did go into nursing, I'm married with 2 kids. I would never leave my family.
Right.
But you still have more opportunity. I love what I do. But, if I could go back in time, I would consider nursing.
Yeah,
I don't know why I didn't at the time.
So sorry I took you off the trail. So she's a nurse?
Yes. Well, she's a licensed vocational nurse or something like that.
Okay.
She's not a registered nurse.
Got it.
But anyway, there's not that much that was known about her very early life. But she was born on February 13th, 1966. She actually was born in Indiana. But her family moved to Nocona, Texas in the early 1980s. She was 15 years old. They made the move because her brother had asthma and they were looking to relocate to a drier climate to help his symptoms. So that's where they ended up there. And it's a very, very small town in Texas. They did not have a lot of money. They basically purchased a rundown home on Henrietta Street. It's a cute little name. It was a street on the east side of town. Her mom was a cook at the local nursing home, and her father was a shade tree mechanic. Do you know what a shade tree mechanic is?
A shade tree mechanic. The first thing that would come to mind would be cutting down like branches of a tree.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. But it has
It's
nothing
not?
to do with trees.
Is it a specific kind of tree or something? Or
No, it has nothing
it's a
to
machine.
do
I
with
mean, mechanic
tree.
is
No.
no.
So what it is he is an automotive mechanic, and it's basically somebody that works with very little equipment.
Oh,
So if something goes wrong, they can basically pop over to your house and fix something without a machine shop.
that's stupid.
Yeah,
That
so-
sounds like a Texas term.
I don't know
Hey,
if it's
go
a
get
Texas.
yourself one of them shade tree mechanics. I don't even know if that's a Texas. It's more like drawn out. Get yourself a. Oh yeah, you have to have a lower voice too, because a lot of cowboy kind of stuff like get yourself a shade tree mechanic.
So I don't know if
Come on
that's
over.
old like terminology or if it's still used to this day. I had never heard of it,
Yeah.
but so I had to look it up. And anyway, so her mom was the cook at the nursing home. So Vickie decided to take a job at the nursing home. She was basically working in the laundry room just to help the family's finances because they weren't, very well off.
Sure.
And then she ended up being promoted to a nurse's aide her junior year of high school. And then when she was younger too, she had watched her grandmother die, or great-grandmother, die. And she realized that she had wanted to dedicate her life to nursing. She'd also read a book about Florence Nightingale, and she decided that's, she wanted to help people.
The chick that flew all around the world.
Yeah, I don't really know that
No,
much
Florence
about
Nightingale is a nurse.
Oh, yeah. Well, I don't know that much about
I was making
her.
a joke that I didn't know many things, but I'm glad you don't either. So that's good.
No, I know who she is.
Oh, yeah.
But I didn't know if she located around the world to help people. I don't know.
No, that was Amelia Earhart is what I was making a joke about. But
So what does Florence Nightingale have to do with Amelia
nothing.
Earhart,
That was the joke. That was the
jackass?
beauty of the joke. Okay, go on.
So, when she was growing up, there was no red flags. There was nothing indicating that she would turn into a monster. She basically kind of faded into the wall. She was described by her peers as a wallflower. She wore secondhand clothes. She really just didn't stand out very much. She was very rarely noticed as she walked through the halls of her high school. She'd come home from her shifts from the nursing home on weekend nights. She would try to, get herself gussied up, as they say in Texas.
Get yourself gussied up after you go to your shade tree mechanic.
Well, that's her father. But anyway, she would change into jeans and a tube top, a little sassy tube top. And she'd hang out at the car wash next to the Dairy Queen. I don't know. I guess in small towns, the local teenage hangout spot is near the car wash. I don't know.
Well, didn't we hang out at the Dairy Queen back when we were teenagers?
No.
Yeah. Sometimes we would just go and just hang out at Dairy Queen. Well, not like...
No, we didn't.
I guess
when
not.
we were first married on Sundays, we would go and get Dairy Queen takeout and sit by the water.
Oh, were we married when we were teenagers? I forgot.
No, Mike, we weren't. We were 23 when we got married.
Okay. Well, so remember when we were in high school, we'd be like, let's go get a Blizzard, and we'd go to Dairy Queen?
Not really, no.
Well, here's the thing. I never went to Dairy Queen, ever, just because I didn't. And then you came along and you're like, hey, let's go to Dairy Queen.
Yeah, Mike's getting confused right now. This did not happen when we were teenagers. This happened when we were married.
It did?
Yes, it did.
No, that was with Mike and Jasa. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about us going separately.
I apparently blocked this out because I do not remember.
It was a big deal to me because
it
it was a lot of fun and I enjoyed it.
I find that hard to believe because when I was a teenager, I had a bit of an eating disorder, and there's rarely a chance in hell I would have ordered a Blizzard.
I got you out of that. I'm sure you went for an ice cream.
I don't know about that, but
Yeah. Okay.
I'll take your word for it.
Well, it sounds like she had a good time at the Dairy Queen.
Yeah. So they would hang out at the car wash next to the Dairy Queen with the other high school kids. And then one time during her junior year, there was a construction worker that was around, and his name was Johnny McLaughlin. He approached Vickie and told her that she was cute. Well, this didn't often happen to Vickie because, again, she was the wallflower. Now all of a sudden she's being noticed, and she's liking it a whole heck of a lot. So
Hormones.
much. Yeah. But so much so that a few weeks later they were married.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Teenager.
Yeah, that's not good.
She basically just hook, line, and sinker to the first person who paid her a lick of attention.
Hey, and God bless them if you're out there and you got married very quickly, if you knew somebody. Who are we to say? We got married young, and usually that doesn't matter, and so far, so good.
Yeah, and the whole thing is that you can't judge because everything works differently for different people, but when a teenager is meeting somebody and a few weeks later they're married, the odds are not on their side.
Right.
Johnny was 5 years older than her, and they did not last. They were divorced within a year, and she did admit later that the reason why she did go through with the marriage was because he was one of the first boys that ever showed her attention.
Sure.
So, she did admit that. So then, of course, they're now divorced, and she's moved back in with her parents. And then she graduated from high school in 1984. She continued to work full-time at the nursing home. She was trying to save her money so that she could go to the junior college to then work on her nursing degree.
Okay.
So that kind of got hitched a bit because within 6 months, she was pregnant by a man named Leroy Carson. He was a self-employed mechanic. But then that her nursing career kind of got put on hold because of this. So she had a son. And then shortly thereafter, she gave birth to a second child, her daughter, Jennifer, in 1986. So her son was Curtis. He was born first. And then her son, Jennifer, was born shortly thereafter. And in the meantime...
Her son, Jennifer? Daughter, Jennifer.
Did I say son,
yeah.
Jennifer? I'm sorry. Her son, Curtis, was first. And then shortly thereafter, she had her daughter, Jennifer.
Got it.
And in the meantime, she and Leroy did get married.
Leroy, a lot of Texas stuff.
Yeah.
I like it.
I don't know Texas very much. I've only been there once.
Well, I'm just, I don't know it very well either. I just assume that a lot of, like I said, everybody's walking around saying, well, here's the thing. Go get yourself some barbecue.
You might be offending people that live in Texas.
It's funny. People, hey, we live in Florida. This place is a
there's
shithole.
a lot to say about Florida.
Yeah, please do.
That is for damn sure.
Florida, man. They're all over the place. I could probably get an alligator right outside my window.
It's possible.
I'm about to go wrestle it.
It's truly possible. My coworker had seen her security footage had lit up because something had moved. And at a time when she would potentially go out jogging early in the morning when it was still dark, there was a probably 6-foot alligator in the path that she would have walked down her front porch. So you just never know what the hell's going to happen here in Florida. So anyway, Vickie's got a lot going on right now. She's got 2 very, very young children. She's married. She's trying to go to school. She's cooking. She's cleaning. She's working night shifts. So basically, she's burning the candle on both ends. There's not much sleep happening, just a lot of hecticness. So things got even more crazy because her parents, she and Leroy had moved into a tiny house right across the street from her parents, but her parents had to relocate back to Indiana because her family member was ailing and they had to go, be there for their dying grandfather. So now she doesn't have the help of her parents. So she's basically flying solo. But during this time, perhaps maybe she was stretched too thin because Leroy had described her as rough talking to the kids. She had a bad habit of slapping them. It's a bad habit.
Yeah.
And she was often found nagging and yelling at Leroy and the children. But then again, what tired mom sometimes isn't nagging and snapping
as a parent,
at the kids?
You picture yourself shaking your kids, or sometimes, just getting to the end of your wits. Sometimes
I'm not a physical person whatsoever. I've never laid a hand on our children.
Same
but
here. Yeah.
Occasionally, I might snap and be like, "Oh, why can't you guys pick up after yourselves?"
Or maybe grab an arm or something is what I've done in the past.
I don't even do that, but that's just me. So Vickie's worn pretty thin here. But during this time in 1989, she did become a licensed vocational nurse, which I don't really know what the difference is in roles between that and a registered nurse. We don't have them at our hospital. But she was basically promoted to night shift nurse. And then 1994 rolls along and Leroy's had enough. They get divorced a couple years later. So Leroy said he would have never married Vickie had she not gotten pregnant. And not so nice, he said, she had become a stupid, boring nurse and no one cared about her.
Well, it's easy to say, hindsight 2020, after people started interviewing you, he's like, hey, did she show any signs of being a serial killer? And he's like, no, man, she's stupid and I would have never married her if I didn't have kids.
No, I think he actually said this to her as they were going through their divorce.
Well, okay.
Like, hey, I would have never married you had you not gotten knocked up.
Well, don't be marrying people just because they're pregnant.
Yeah, it's not a good idea, but, people do what they got to do.
Sure.
So now she's single suddenly and she's trying to lose weight, get fit, maybe get the eyes of a new man on her.
Well, I did look her up when you said she was cute, and looks like she's having those problems again.
Yeah, she's, probably not very big on exercise. She likes herself a pretty indulgent meal here and there.
Yeah. I mean, I could see how she was maybe cute when she was younger. But,
I don't know. Yeah. Maybe. But she's trying to cutesy herself up. She's getting herself a babysitter for her two kids, Curtis and Jennifer. And she's going to a country music dance hall that was called the Third Spur.
So now she's got time to do things, even though she's burning the candle at both ends. But now she needs some man in her life, and she's going to find a way to get it.
Yeah, desperate times call for desperate measures.
Okay.
And she does seem to kind of quickly fall into these relationships with these people.
Well, just because she married somebody in 3 days and then just
It wasn't 3 days. I think it was a few weeks.
A few weeks.
Yeah.
Okay. And then got married because she got pregnant.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, she does. That makes sense.
So she's going to the Third Spur. She's sporting her jeans, her cowboy boots, her short Western tops. She would sit at a table near the bar and drink pina coladas.
That means you're down for a good time.
Yeah, exactly.
Actually, no. A woman that drinks pina coladas is a huge pain in the ass, from what I understand.
Well, it depends on where you are. Like we were on the Disney cruise at one time, and you're sitting on the island or whatever. It feels like I'm not a pina colada drinker, probably because they're like 500 calories, but
on a cruise, absolutely. At a regular dive bar in Texas, somebody drinking a pina colada, one, the bartender hates you already
because you're having to whip out the blender.
A blender, yeah. That person wants to pop beers and pour whiskeys,
especially at like a Western place called the Third Spur.
Exactly. Stay away from anybody that you're going after, or women. Anybody drinking a pina colada at a regular bar, stay away from them.
Boy, you've got some generalizations.
Guaranteed
here.
that person's a pain in the ass.
I don't know, Mike.
It is. I enjoy pina coladas too on the beach, places, and maybe an odd one here at a Chili's if I ever go to one and they're on a 2-for-1 special. Sure. But that is not my drink, and if it is your drink, then you're probably a very, very hard person to get along with.
Okay, from the mouth of Mike Pernecki.
That's right. Email me, please.
So
Mike@.com. That's it.
Her cutesy outfits weren't working. She wasn't getting very much attention from the men. So one day she got pretty brazen, and she said, the next man who walks through the door, I'm going to ask him to dance. Well, that next man was Kirk Jackson. He was a 31-year-old who worked as a nursing aide at a nearby nursing home.
Poor son of a bitch.
And 2 months later, on July 4th, they got married. We are very quick to get married. But have you ever met people like that kind of just always have to be in a relationship?
Not really. As a man, I mean, well, yeah, I guess, but like men don't think about that too much. I don't think we don't talk about that. You know, we kind of talk about sports and stuff. Don't really recognize when people do. But I guess, yeah. I've definitely heard of it. And you know, those people that, they just can't live without being in it.
And they fall so hard, so fast.
Yeah.
I knew people like that in high school.
Right.
I mean, it's easy for me to say you and I have been dating since we were 16.
It's been a lot easier for us than a lot of people.
Yeah, exactly. So then they're married on July 4th, and then Kirk ends up getting hired by Nocona General Hospital. He's working the night shift as a nurse's aide, and soon after, Vickie followed suit, and she got a job as a night shift LVN, the licensed vocational nurse. They wanted to spend more time together, so they're working the same shifts. It's working out. So this is a very, very small hospital in Nocona, Texas. And oftentimes there was rarely more than 15 patients at a time. It was a 38-bed hospital from what I read. I work at a hospital that's fairly big. It's like a 300 and some odd bed hospital. But
38 small.
38 bed is like one unit on our hospital.
Yeah, a couple hallways.
Exactly. So, people in her town would describe her as very soft-spoken. She was very sweet. They knew her as a nurse who worked the night shift at the hospital because, again, it's one of those towns that everybody knows who you are.
And you're a nurse and you're respected.
Yeah, exactly. That was basically the label you got. Sweet, soft-spoken nurse. So oftentimes she was very well known at the local Dairy Queen. This is where she hung out as a kid, and this is where she goes. It sounds like she was kind of maybe a creature of habit before she would start her night shift. She would go to the Dairy Queen about an hour or so before and order, sounds like the exact same thing every single time, a taco basket.
Well, I was hoping you were going to say what it was, so that's good.
Yes.
Interesting. If I'm craving tacos, I go to Dairy Queen right away.
I know. I didn't even know. I mean, I don't think currently they serve tacos.
I don't think so either.
Apparently in the 80s they did.
Yeah.
So this basket would come with 2 tacos, onion rings, and a small salad.
That's so funny.
I like how they toss that salad in
Well,
for good measure. I'm sure it was doused with some shit ton of ranch.
If there's one thing Dairy Queen cares about, it's your health, and they want to make sure you get vegetables.
They're very conscientious about those veggies. So she would then take the 4-minute drive to her shift on the south side of town at Nocona General. And she would start her shift visiting all the patients, assuring them that if they needed her, she was there. And, you would assume there weren't very many nurses on staff because it is...
Sweetheart, if you need me, I'm here for you.
Here for you.
Just give a ring.
I'm Nurse Vickie.
Yeah.
So she would check on them throughout the night, read her nursing textbooks in between. And, again, she was referred to as a caring person. She was someone who did everything that was asked of her. She never seemed upset about what it needed to be done. She just did it.
So no red flags here so far.
No red flags. No.
Slapped her kids. I mean, lots of people, hit
Got short-tempered, slapped her kids a bit, nagged. Yeah, that's basically it so far. So I guess a LVN, licensed vocational nurse, is below an RN. So she was basically at this time, she had her... her eyes set on becoming an RN, a registered nurse. So she started taking courses at a community college. So then things started to get a little hairy in their household. Kirk's working the night shift with her sometimes, and on his nights off, he'd want to hang with the guys. They like to play cards, have some beers. And, Vickie did not like this because she's got 2 kids. This is maybe her night off. She doesn't want to deal with these guys in her house drinking and playing cards. So things are getting a little rocky. They're starting to argue. She was also jealous because apparently Kirk was flirting with other pretty nurses. Mm-hmm. Who knows? And
as a male, heterosexual nurse, you'd probably have plenty of other female nurses to talk to.
Well, it's a very female generated profession, so I'm sure he was probably one of the few men, and there was mostly women around him.
Yeah, a lot of attention, a lot of time, especially, I forgot if you said he's night or day nurse, but
he's also night with.
Okay.
Oftentimes they're working the same shift.
So there's lots of time sitting around talking and getting to know each other.
Well, yeah, because night shift, it's a lot quieter. Sure. Patients are sleeping. You're not having doctors rounding. You're not, doing a lot of the things that are happening during the day.
Yep.
So apparently Vickie wasn't liking this, as, I wouldn't either. So things are getting rocky in the household to the point that in 1999, her son Curtis didn't want to be there anymore. So he decided he's going to escape the escalating tension and move in with his father, Leroy. So not far after, maybe a few months, Jennifer did the same. She's jumping ship and going to live with her father and brother as well. So because of this, now Vickie's paying Leroy child support because the kids are with him. So she's paying him about $300 a month in child support. And then she's noticing that, she's mentally struggling. So good for her. She begins to see a counselor at the public mental health center. She was feeling pretty deeply depressed.
Doesn't sound like it's going to work, though.
It doesn't sound like, because, when you're known as the angel of death, it didn't work.
Yeah, spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert, she didn't get fixed. But she was feeling depressed. She was feeling rejected and unloved, experiencing pretty big mood swings at this point. But she continued to also worry that Kirk was having an affair. So her daughter started to notice some red flags too. When they would be spending some time together, she noticed that Vickie was staring off into space. One time she was even seen kicking the family dog. And the little chihuahua, its name was Killer.
Oh.
Yeah.
I don't like her. I don't like her. Ever,
well, especially kicking a little helpless animal.
Yeah.
Unacceptable. So she also revealed at this time that she could be bipolar. I don't know if she was formally diagnosed, if she was just guessing that. I'm not entirely sure.
She's got to have something.
Yeah. So Jennifer wasn't sure what this meant. So she asked her mom, well, what does it mean that you're bipolar? And Vickie's response was, it means I could kill you and get away with it.
Oh.
I don't know if that's what it means to be bipolar, Vickie. So Jennifer is feeling like something's starting to really crumble inside of her mother at this point.
Well, kids, stay away from your parents if they start threatening you with murder or death.
Well, and to the point that her daughter was so uncomfortable that when she would occasionally spend the night at Vickie's place, she was sleeping with a baseball bat beside her bed.
Yeah, that's not a comfortable sleep. You were talking about your sleep score on the Fitbit, and you're not going to have a good sleep score if you're worried about getting murdered in the middle of the night.
Yeah, every little creak that happens, you're like gripping the baseball bats just in case your mother comes in to murder you.
Yeah.
So her daughter had also described her mom as a baby face on the outside, but hell on the inside. So she had such a very sweet, unassuming, meek presence, but her daughter did feel like something was going on the inside that was not good. So in the year 2000, it was a pretty rough one for Vickie. She had lost custody of her children. She lost a close relative who passed away. And she
lost custody of her kids.
Yes.
Wow.
Apparently, Leroy got custody. But, I think at this point, the kids were older, so maybe they were able to just make that decision. I'm not sure how that works. And then apparently at this time, she had also suffered a miscarriage. And it was attributed that it was because of the stress of all the fighting she and Kirk were, doing.
Yeah. And a lot of women go through miscarriage, and it's something that society doesn't talk about a lot, but that's got to be tough.
Oh, I'm sure it's exceptionally tragic.
Yeah, especially how far along you are and everything. You already get into the mindset of having a child. And,
honestly, I don't think it matters how far along you are.
Right.
You could be, 5 weeks pregnant.
You're pregnant, and then
tragic.
You're not. Yeah,
exactly. So clearly something is starting to snap, and all of a sudden the light switch goes on blaring on December 11th, 2000. This is when everything started. So at this point in time, Vickie was 34 years old, and this is when her killing spree began on the night of December 11th, 2000. So she filled a syringe with mivacurium chloride. And again, this is a drug that paralyzes the respiratory system. I don't know, if it's mostly used in surgery. I have never seen it on a med list in my hospital. I work in the ICU. I see the med list that's used when patients are being intubated. This is not a drug that we see on our medication list. So I'm not very familiar with this drug. Actually, this is the first time I'd ever heard of it.
Okay.
So she basically filled a syringe with this drug. So it paralyzes the respiratory system, which is fine if you're getting intubated and a machine is going to breathe for you. Not so fine if that's not happening. So she basically went looking for somebody to murder this night. So most of her victims It happened between December 11th, 2000 and February 18th, 2001. So this was the time frame of her killing spree.
It looks like it says it's an adjunct to general anesthesia.
Yes, exactly it is. But I also read...
intubation, provide skeletal muscle relaxation during surgery.
Yeah, so I don't know if it's only used during surgery. From what I read, it's also sometimes used during the intubation process, even if it's not related to surgery.
Right.
Because obviously in the ICU, if somebody's going into respiratory failure, they are having to intubate them.
A relaxant of some sort.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But like I said, I had never seen it. So anyway, her killing spree was between December 11th, 2000 and February 18th, 2001. And they were mostly local residents because, again, this is a very small town. It's a 38-bed hospital. You see these people in the hospital, you know them.
Yeah.
So often she knew these people and had some sort of connection with them.
Which, I mean, any kind of killing is horrible, but something where you have that human connection already and then you're still okay with killing these people, that is completely fucked.
Yeah, because you know that they're a mother and, you know, again, it doesn't matter. You shouldn't be killing anybody.
You're not thinking logically.
But you know that they have this family and you're still willing to off them.
So there's that human connection that she's missing completely.
Yes,
yeah.
Exactly. So her first victim was Donnie Jennings. It was a very elderly person. This was a 100-year-old widow. She was known to be demanding. Vickie had said she complained a lot and she'd spit on you and strike you with her hand if she didn't get what she wanted. But I liked her very much. I like how she followed up with that. Now, you have to keep in mind, too, these patients are in the hospital, and oftentimes when people are in the hospital, they may get a switch in their personality. They could get confused. You know, at night especially, it's called sundowning. It's, you know, even if you're alert and oriented during the day, at night you get confused. And with confusion oftentimes comes combativeness.
Because they don't know what's going on.
They don't know.
Defensive.
Of course, they're scared.
Sure.
And what are you going to do when somebody's coming at you? You're going to strike. So apparently Donnie was getting a little combative. So Vickie pays her a little visit into her room and likely used a port in Jennings' IV to inject the mivacurium chloride. So within seconds, Donnie was not doing well. She was turning blue. She was foaming at the mouth. Because of the, you know, her lungs were basically paralyzed. She couldn't breathe. She was unable to call out because she couldn't breathe. So she basically suffocated to death.
Oh, wow. So it just shuts down respiratory, but you can move and stuff still?
Apparently, yes, you can.
But obviously, you know, you're more worried, why the hell can't I breathe? And you're trying to free yourself up from unable to breathe. But,
yes, because
wow.
it's basically paralyzing their skeletal muscle.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Wow.
So it's got to be extremely scary.
You're just completely conscious and just, you know, something that has been done involuntarily your whole life just completely shuts down.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I guess it would be similar to like if, you know, like a grape got lodged in your throat and you can't breathe.
Well, at least you feel that. It's like you
all of a sudden your lungs are just shutting down.
Yeah, it's almost like you forget how to breathe.
Oh,
and you're kind of trying to train your body. Like,
it's getting me short of breath just thinking about it.
I guarantee everybody listening to this is taking an extra breath.
Oh, that's awful. Ugh. So she was found by a nurse's aide at 1:45 a.m., even though her vitals had been perfectly normal when she had been last checked on after midnight. But, you know, at 100 years old, it's not very suspicious. You're in the hospital for a reason. You're not feeling well, and you're 100. So not much is being thought of this.
Natural causes, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, exactly. So nothing's suspicious at this point in time.
Nobody's sending her to get checked out.
Nobody's getting an autopsy done. No.
Right.
So Vickie's standing at the nurse's station when she hears of the death and said she would call the family because she knew the family. Yeah, you know, small town.
Yep.
Jennings' daughter had said, "But I just saw her earlier that night. Mama smiled at me." Vickie apologized for her loss.
She went downhill fast.
Yeah. Oh, bless your heart.
Yeah.
Bitch.
Bitch angel.
Bitch angel of death. So then on the early morning hours of December 20th, Vickie enters 87-year-old farmer L.G. Hudson's room. He had been admitted with a broken leg.
Nobody does selling better than Shopify. Shopify is the home of the #1 checkout on the planet. And the not-so-secret secret, with Shop Pay that boosts conversions up to 50%, meaning way less carts go abandoned and way more sales going through. So if you're into growing your business, your commerce platform better be ready to sell wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling. On the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Businesses that sell more, sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout that Skims uses. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period for 3 months at shopify.com/Westwood1, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/Westwood1 to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/Westwood1.
She injected him with a mivacurium chloride, and less than 20 minutes later, she walked into Sanford Mitchell's room. He was a 62-year-old retired supervisor of an electric company who came to the hospital because he had cirrhosis, which is, issues with your liver. So then she went back into LG's room where the staff was attempting to resuscitate him and said, "Y'all, somebody needs to check on Mr. Mitchell. He slumped over." It's like, Vickie, you are a nurse here. Why are you walking over to this room to tell the staff that he's in distress? So in 20 minutes, she's
getting off on it, obviously.
But wouldn't that raise flags? Like if you were like, why aren't you attending?
Well, maybe she
to
needs more.
Mr. Mitchell.
It's more than one person kind of thing.
Perhaps. I don't know. But she wasn't in any hurry to report this news.
Okay.
So this is December 20th now. She's knocked off these two poor men. So now 4 days later, it's Christmas Eve. She killed 50-year-old Barbara Atbury, who came in for back pain. So, a 50-year-old with back pain is a lot harder to...
Suspicious.
Yeah.
A lot more suspicious. That has nothing to do with any kind of cardiovascular stuff.
Exactly. But same thing, though, with the other two.
Yeah, broken leg or whatever.
I don't know why her first person had been there, Donnie Jennings. But, LG is there for a broken bone and... Mr. Mitchell's there for cirrhosis.
Well, Donnie Jennings was old, so it could be anything.
Yeah, granted, he was almost 90.
Yeah.
But, Mr. Mitchell was only 62.
Yeah.
So now she's going to kill 50-year-old Barbara Atbury, who, again, came in for back pain. The following day, she went into 87-year-old Boyd Burnett's room. He had been admitted because of confusion. So... she does those two on that date. And then 5 days later, on December 29th, she killed 80-year-old James Gore. He had come to the hospital. He had aspirated on his food. So then 7 hours later, on the exact same night, she walked into 79-year-old Gertie Matthews' room. She was there for a UTI. So all these patients had been attempted to be resuscitated by the staff, but it was unsuccessful. So in all of these instances, Vickie's just standing in the back of the room saying very little, just kind of watching and observing.
So a lot of two at a time. Her last three of them was like LG and Sanford, and then Barbara and Boyd, and then James and Gertie. It's like she's just kind of doing something to get through her days.
Yep.
It's something to get excited about. It was almost like became a hobby. Like that's and trying to figure out her victims probably.
What I always wonder is how long she thought about this before she ended up doing it. Obviously she knew of this drug. She worked there and knew what it did. Mm-hmm. I just wonder at what point in time this thought came into her mind.
Well, the first one being so old, 100 years old, you think that was more of a test kind of thing. See how much she has to give until, and then nobody's going to ask any questions. And then she started getting younger and younger. So she kind of wants to get caught at this time. It sounds like just you're not thinking. Obviously, we talk about logic a lot here, and that's out the window.
And logic's not present.
Yeah. That's just, yeah. And then, you wonder if she thought about her victims throughout the week, because it's like she takes, 4 or 5 days between murders here. So, she probably works a couple days and, decides who she's getting annoyed at or something, whatever it might be.
Whatever reason it is.
Yeah, something sets her off.
So, as I said, her killing spree began December 11th. So in the month of December of 2000, 7 patients died from respiratory arrest.
Wow.
So none of these patients had a history of respiratory issues. 2 patients stopped breathing within minutes of each other. So it was like boom, boom. She's room to room. And again, this is a tiny hospital. Stuff like this doesn't... It would be rare in my own hospital for this to happen. What the shit is going on here?
The daily deaths are well known by everybody.
Oh, yes. Very well known.
Yeah.
And the fact that this tiny little hospital has 7 patients in the month of December. I wonder in years past, what does each month show on average? Probably very little.
Yeah.
So basically, no one is suspecting anything is off. The chief of staff, Dr. Len Dingler, thought that they were having, quote, a run of bad luck.
Well, yeah, you wouldn't
Because
think.
who's suspecting
Sure.
that there's a monster within the walls of the hospital?
Right. Or, you might think it's an infection of some sort. You got to identify what's the blood infection called?
Sepsis.
Sepsis, yeah. Obviously, they probably know about that.
But your brain's not going to that dark place that one of your own is doing this,
Yeah.
So then CEO Chuck Norris, when I wrote his name, I was like, Charles Norris. He didn't suspect anything because the majority of the deaths were elderly patients. So, granted, there was a 50-year-old and a 62-year-old in there, but still.
Yeah.
So then now we're moving on to the new year. We're in January of 2001. During the first 8 days of January, 5 more patients have died from respiratory arrest. So during this time, the local paper happened to run an article on the hospital, like basically advertising and appraising it. So this is in the Nocona News. They did a full-page advertisement for the hospital featuring the hospital's nurses and aides, and it read that nurses are some of the many stars who offer quality, compassionate care at Nocona General Hospital.
And it's true. Nurses
It's very true. But unfortunately, this bad seed was wreaking havoc in the background. It was just odd timing for
little
this.
did they know, upon praising the entire nursing staff, one of them was actually the exact opposite.
And who at the very top of the ad was pictured but little nurse Vickie herself.
Well, because she's cute on the outside.
And there she was with a smile on her face. Ooh, devil.
Probably loved it.
Yeah, exactly. So now it's mid-January, and she injected mivacurium chloride into Jimmy Ray Holder as his wife sat at the bedside.
She's getting more daring, and it's getting more exciting for her.
Yeah.
Ugh.
So then she goes into 95-year-old Oma Weiler's room. She hit Oma twice because her first hit wasn't successful. So she rounded back around and saw that she was still alive. He or she, I don't know. They didn't say if it was a man or a woman.
Noma sounds like a girl. It's okay.
It was Oma.
Oma.
So she went in twice and was successful on her second try. So then, townspeople are starting to notice because of the obituaries. These people sitting.
That's how big of a deal it is.
They're reading their paper and they're
Wow.
noticing that the obituaries that have been run in the Nocona News, what was typical was about maybe 3 to 4 per week. Now we're looking at 5 to 6 per week.
Yeah. Almost, 50% increase. Yeah.
So not only were people noticing the increase in the obituaries, but the floral shops now are having way more business.
It's like, yes, this is working out really
Yes.
well.
They were experiencing record-breaking business spikes.
Wow. So the dumbass CEO and I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Adam,
I'd hate to
it's
say
hard.
that, but it was a glaring thing.
Yeah, if everybody else is starting to notice, find the root cause. Obviously, they're looking for the root cause.
I would assume in the
yeah.
background they're like, what the hell?
I should hope so.
I should hope so. So
If not, then they shouldn't have their jobs. But yes.
Yeah. And funeral homes were so busy that they were discussing buying more hearses. Now, the one that was taking a hit was the sweet local Dairy Queen. They were supplying like the receptors. What are they called? Like the receptions that somebody hosts after a funeral.
Catering and such.
Yeah, they were supplying the paper goods to these homes for the families. And one of the employees had joked that if things keep up as they are, they're basically going to run out of paper goods.
Right.
So, the townsfolk were definitely noticing something was going on. So, a few of the nurses, which I find this line to be ridiculous, a few of the nurses had begun to notice the increase in deaths. You don't say.
Well, that's crazy. Like the entire freaking town is all about it, and the nurses just noticed. Like that's a stupid line.
It didn't seem, from what I read, very glaring in the hospital.
Right.
Like it didn't feel to me that it was up in arms yet.
Like obviously hindsight's 20/20, but it's you would think such a small town that would set off a lot of bells.
Right. To put the pieces of the puzzle, or try to anyway.
Yeah.
Some even were jokingly referring to the night shift as the killing crew because it was all happening at night. So,
well, do they know that yes, that is what's happening? There's a member of the crew that is killing people.
And that's just the thing too. It's not only that these people are dying, but it's all on the night shift.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell's going on? One of the nurses did begin to correlate Vickie's presence in the room. She started to notice that those that were dying, oftentimes Vickie was the last person that had been attending to that person.
Okay.
So
now we're getting somewhere.
The pieces were starting to slide into place. And oftentimes when these things were going down and this patient was going into respiratory arrest, Vickie would always be seen casually. And that's the word that's like in highlight here. It's she's casually walking up to the nurse's station to announce that somebody wasn't doing well or having trouble breathing. Any medical profession knows that when a crisis is happening, you're not casually walking, you're sprinting.
Yeah, you got seconds to save the life of this person.
It's a life or death situation.
It's obvious she's not interested in saving these people.
Right. And you would think, though, that she would have pretended a little bit better.
But at the same time, in her mind, she wants them dead. So the more time she takes, the more
exactly.
Chance of them being
but
dead.
I'm saying to protect the facade that she's
maybe
not...
sit in the room for another 5 minutes
and then
go
run.
sprint out. Yeah,
exactly. I don't know.
Yeah.
Lord knows what was going on in her head.
Yeah.
One nurse had noticed that Vickie's eyes would glaze over as if she was in a fog when a patient was acting rude or out of control. It was like something would almost like come over her.
Yeah, like pupils dilate like, oh, this is going to be the next one.
Exactly. And then she would be the first to want to attend to that patient saying, I'll take care of it or I'll fix it. And, again, in a hospital, there can be a lot of unruly people. So
just the phrase, I'll fix it, that's weird.
Exactly. So there were some correlations to some of the people that were killed. That 150-year-old patient that had come into the hospital for back pain, Barbara, she had, known Vickie. Boyd Burnett, who was the 87-year-old that had the confusion, they had family members that would make fun of Vickie in high school. So whether or not that had something to do with it, I don't know. Sanford Mitchell, he was the patient that was there with cirrhosis. He would stare at her breasts and call Vickie Nurse Tits. I thought you would get a kick out of that.
That's pretty funny. I mean, it's not outside my capabilities when I'm 80 or 90. And now, unfortunately, you put that in my head now, so I'm sure
hope
it's going to...
never call a nurse Tits.
It's going to come up from my subconscious. I'll be like, hey, Nurse Tits.
Yeah, right. So perhaps it had something to do with this. Perhaps it didn't. Who knows?
Yeah. They probably had stories like, "Oh, are you the Vickie from whatever high school?"
Oh, you knew blah blah blah.
Yeah, and then it would probably pop in her head like that person, made fun of me, and then end of that person.
Exactly. So now we're into January 11th, 2001. 82-year-old machinist J.T. Nichols. He was at the hospital with pneumonia. He was found dead, and then 3 hours later, 78-year-old rancher and oilman John Williams was found. He had been admitted because of a sore on his foot. So Vickie wanted to be the one to talk to John's family, so she waited out front for them to arrive. And the first to arrive was John's son, Pat. She was voicing her condolences to Pat. She had told him that night she had taken John outside earlier for a smoke, and she told Pat that John had said, "I've lived a good life and I'm ready to go." Pat didn't understand that because John had been at the hospital with a sore on his foot.
Yeah.
He wasn't there with anything life-threatening. So, Pat found that very odd.
Yeah, I was like, why would he even bring up death?
Yeah, that his father would even say that.
Yeah.
So, this was definitely something that was a little head-scratching. And then, he also found it extremely traumatizing when he entered his father's hospital room. He said that he recalled that his mouth was open as if he had been screaming. How horrible is that?
Horrible.
And he thought that he looked like a ghoul in a horror movie. What an awful picture that you're seeing your father like this.
Well, asphyxiation, or whatever it might be called. So, he probably turned blue or gray because he's not breathing.
Exactly. And he probably was trying to yell out for help.
Or trying to gasp for air or whatever it might be.
Oh, very hard. So during the entire year of 2000, there had not been one single complaint about Vickie from any of the patients. Nothing. None of the patients, none of the staff. So she was very good at acting all sweet and cutesy. Mm-hmm. So now it's January 30th and, things are continuing to spiral out of control. she injected 82-year-old Orville Moore's IV. He had called Vickie a fat ass at some point. Actually, it was the day before. And then minutes later, this one is just unbelievable. This is a 14-year-old girl named Lydia Weatherred. She had been in the hospital recovering from appendicitis. So Lydia knew Vickie's children because Lydia herself is only 14. So she knew Vickie's children, and rumor had it that she had turned down Vickie's son Curtis for a date. So who knows? So Vickie greeted Lydia as she injected the mivacurium chloride into her IV as her mother sat at the bedside. All of a sudden, she told her mother that her chest hurt, and she began to complain as she clawed at her throat as her mother's just sitting there.
Yeah.
So, of course, thank goodness her mother was there because she has a voice. Her mother begins to scream, and luckily a doctor who was there attending to Orville Moore was able to quickly swoop into the room with the other nurses, and thankfully Lydia survived this.
Holy cow, really?
Yes.
Wow, I wonder how they identified it, because that's like a drug. That's something that's purposely driven to shut things down.
Right. But because her mom was there to speak for her, and because the doctor was right there resuscitating the other patient that Vickie had put down, the staff was ready to go. You know, their adrenaline's pumping. They rush into Lydia's room. They're there to save her.
Not to mention what's on their brain last, resuscitating somebody in the same situation. So they're ready to do it. They the treatment starts right away.
Exactly. They're already pumped up and ready to go.
Wow.
But, also there, it's like, holy shit, we just came from a room doing the exact same thing. And now we're entering a 14-year-old girl's room who's there with appendicitis.
Yeah, enough is enough. This is fucked. Like, what the hell is going on?
So thankfully, Lydia was revived. So now the very following day, she's going into a 46-year-old's room. So this is Donna Kernett. This is just before change of shift. So this is in the morning before the 7 a.m. crew, whatever their shift changes, is coming in. Thankfully, Donna was able to reach her call bell and whisper, "I can't breathe. I'm having a reaction." So again, thank God she was able to speak, because then quickly doctors and nurses, just like Lydia, rushed to her aid. And at this time, there was shouting that 35-year-old Lisa Pelkey had gone into respiratory distress.
Oh my God.
So in this exact time frame, 46-year-old and 35-year-old are crashing. So Lisa used to see Vickie at the third spur. I don't know that they knew each other, but Lisa knew Vickie. She, from seeing her there.
Yeah.
So sadly, Donna never regained consciousness. She was the one that was able to whisper into her call bell.
Okay.
So a few weeks later, she ended up passing away, sadly. I mean, a 46-year-old woman. And then Lisa, she ended up being intubated and saved. So she survived, thankfully. So now this is 4 respiratory arrests in 2 days.
Intubation is what's saving these people. So putting them on a machine that'll breathe for them, because they can't do it themselves.
I don't know if Lydia was intubated. They didn't say that, but Lisa was.
Well, I'm just trying to think in my head, how would you save somebody where a drug is purposely shutting down their breathing? So that makes some sense.
Yeah, exactly. So maybe Lydia had been. I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah.
So now it's 4 people in 2 days. Very young people. Granted, there was an 82-year-old. So in these 4 days, it's 82, 14, 46, and 35. Predominantly very young people. Mm-hmm. So people are now, the alarm bells are definitely ringing. People are very suspicious. On February 6th, a pharmacy technician approached the chief of staff, Len Dingler, notified him that at least 10 vials of mivacurium chloride were missing from one of the crash carts. Mm-hmm. A crash cart is there with drugs that are needed to resuscitate somebody.
Somebody crashes, you have some certain products available.
Yeah, exactly. So hospital records were reviewed, and not only had Vickie been working each night somebody had died, but again, she was often the last person seen attending to these people.
Yeah, this is an open and shut case almost.
Right, but there still is no definite proof that it's her.
Right. So
they can't do anything about it. They're suspicious, big time. The spotlight is on her, but there's no proof.
Gotta catch her.
Yeah, what do? She's continuing to work.
You assign somebody secretly and you say, watch her, then we'll get her red-handed.
Exactly. So hospital officials have maintained that the authorities were notified as soon as they realized that there was problems, but it it did end up that the drug may have been missing for nearly 2 months before police were called.
Of course.
So after...
Well, it took that pharmacist saying something.
Yeah, it did. It took...
And they didn't have the tracking back then that they do now because of shit like this. Well, one, drug abuse, and then two, just, the danger that it could come with just leaving drugs wide open that could kill people.
Extremely dangerous. So the after-hours log at the pharmacy had shown that Mivacron was replaced on the crash cart 4 times between November 23rd, 2000 and January 9th, 2001 without any corresponding charges to the patients.
Right.
So, when you go to give a medication, they're scanning an armband so that where is this med going? It's a tracker.
The hospital wants to get paid on the drugs too.
And for safety.
Sure.
So there were no correlation with it being used for certain patients.
Trust me, in America, it's mostly because of profit, but yeah.
Well, who knows? And they know that one vial had been taken on the overnight shift between January 30th and the 31st of 2001. And that's what really triggered the facility's internal investigation. Drugs are missing, and it's a very powerful drug. Mm-hmm. But, at the same time, Vickie is continuing to work because there's no proof that she's the one responsible. So at this time, her own husband, Kirk, his grandfather had come to the hospital because he had a high fever and cellulitis. And his name was E.E. Preacher Jackson. He was 91 years old and a former cotton farmer. So slowly and quietly, Vickie approaches the nurse's station and states she believed that Preacher Jackson was dead. She then told Kirk, who went outside and wept. So she's really hitting it close to home. Her own, grandfather-in-law, basically.
Yeah, she's off the deep end.
Yeah, and who knows if this was just to get back at Kirk, who was, she was suspecting was cheating on her.
I'm sure there's something in her stupid little head that makes this worth it, yeah.
So 2 days later, the hospital CEO, good old Chuck Norris. Charlie Norris.
Comes in with his nunchucks.
He met with police chief officer Kent Holcomb to discuss the deaths. The FBI is getting involved as well as the Texas Rangers. They had no physical evidence still to prove that Vickie was responsible for murdering these patients. So they decided to set up a hidden camera that was directed at the supply of the mivacurium chloride to hope to catch her. But life continued on, and staff even hosted a potluck birthday party for Vickie.
Right.
Because, her birthday was in February. I guess her mother-in-law, too. They hosted a joint party between Vickie and her mother-in-law.
Well, yeah. I mean, she's still a member of the staff.
Exactly. And Vickie was said to say, thank y'all. Y'all are so wonderful. You don't even know what this means to me. So despite being celebrated, she continues on her death rampage. So a couple of days after the party, in the early morning hours of February 17th, 61-year-old patient Donnelly Reed was preparing to be discharged home when Vickie approached the nurse's station saying, "You better go check on Mr. Reed. He's making snorting horse-like sounds." Thankfully, Reed was able to be resuscitated by doctors and nurses. When Reed was questioned what happened, he was able to tell his story.
Good.
He said that a blonde-haired nurse had come into his room and put something into his IV. She had smiled and said, "Can I do anything else for you?" Ugh, it's so creepy.
Yeah.
What a snake. So then 2 days later, it's February 19th, law enforcement is now investigating more closely Vickie.
Well, also, they're probably asking the right questions at this time. So maybe to that guy, they're like, hey, anybody come into your room, like anything that was injected or any pills that you took that you can remember, and probably knowing in the back of their head, there was probably an injection. Were there any injections? Oh, well, yeah, there was this blonde nurse that came in and...
Yep, and that's exactly what happened right before he couldn't breathe.
Yeah.
So now the police are going to her home to start to investigate, and what do they find in the garbage can of her home? A vial. A vial of mivacurium chloride.
Okay.
So, of course, Kirk is also living in this home and also works at the hospital. So the thing is that the spotlight remained on Vickie because a lot of these deaths, Kirk wasn't even working that night.
Yeah.
But both Kirk and Vickie ended up being fired on February 20th. They just basically didn't want any association with the two of them.
Yeah.
And they were both let go. So Vickie had absolutely no shame during this time. All these people have died. The spotlight is on her, and she is still flouncing around town, just ordering her taco baskets at Dairy Queen, acting like nothing's happening. If somebody would give her a side eye or question, she would say she had nothing to do with any of the deaths.
I can't believe they're just like firing her. And that's, I mean, you don't want her in there, obviously, because you got to prevent the deaths. But I can't believe they couldn't have caught her. She's probably being a little more careful at this point, too.
Yeah. So, and I guess I'm not sure why she hadn't been arrested at the time they found the vial in her garbage can. I'm not sure what was going on in the background.
Well, because she's a nurse and she has it in her thing. Yeah, it doesn't mean that she injected it into somebody for the purpose of killing them.
I don't know that an LVN would ever have any business with this drug. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like why
An
did you?
anesthesiologist?
Yes,
Sure.
exactly.
Depending on the doctor ordering it, who knows?
Yeah.
But, yeah.
So she's running around town as if nothing's happening, and she bumps into Pat. Remember, his father John had passed away, and John had said, "Oh, I've lived a good life." Blah blah blah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So she bumps into Pat, and approaches him as if nothing's wrong. Says, "It's great to see you. How have you been?" And Pat had been so shaken, like with rage, that she just walked up to him like this, that he got on the phone with his wife and was like, I didn't even know what to say to her. If it had been a man that had possibly done this, I would have put him through a plate glass window. So everyone knew Vickie was somehow responsible for this. And then during this time, Kirk, he's telling his friends Vickie's been unhappy, though he could not imagine that she was so unhappy that it pushed her to kill people.
Yeah, I mean, you don't think your significant other's out there killing people.
But he still was just beside himself with the situation. He did end up leaving town. He told Vickie he was having trouble sleeping, and he had been having trouble sleeping. He was having nightmares about her stabbing him with a needle in the night and killing him.
Well,
can you imagine sleeping next to this person you're suspecting could kill you?
So there's multiple people in her house worried about being killed by her.
Exactly.
Jesus.
Shortly after Kirk left, Vickie returned to the third spur and was wearing her little short Western tops, acting like nothing's amiss. So then police begin the job of proving that Vickie had murdered these patients. So they start exhuming bodies of patients that had passed away in June of 2001, and families began to sue the hospital for negligence. Lydia Weatherred, which is the mom of, Lydia, the 14-year-old, her mom had wrote a paper, let me backtrack. Lydia wrote a paper for her high school English class about her near-death experience, and she had said that she was considering herself going to nursing school, saying that hospitals could use better nurses. Mm-hmm. So, thankfully she survived to tell the story. Vickie's still carrying on. She gets a job in Gainesville, which is just east of Nocona. She's working as a nurse.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Of course. I mean, that's all she has. That's all she knows.
This isn't a nursing home, but she was fired within a few weeks because she was accused of stealing meds.
Nice. So
yeah.
Okay. That one was better at tracking it.
Exactly. So now it's July 2002, and she's working a shift at a deli counter at a grocery store when she was arrested. And the deli manager was so shocked, saying they have the wrong person. She was delightful. She loved telling funny stories. So she was very good at pretending like little old me couldn't be me.
Well, the customers love her. They call her sandwich tits.
Yeah, exactly. Not nurse tits, but sandwich tits.
Yeah.
Sammy tits. So she denied having any wrongdoing when she would be talking with her inmates. She said she loved being a nurse and she would never hurt anyone.
They need her to be the one to say, I did it. That's where they need. Yeah.
Really, it never happened, but the lawyers had sent a box of evidence to the prison so that she could review them and be ready for the trial. And one of her prison mates had, I guess there were pictures of some of these exhumed bodies in this package that he had sent. And the inmate that was with Vickie had commented just, how awful it must be for the families of those that were killed. And apparently Vickie responded by saying, screw those families. Mm-hmm. So she would show a bit of a dark side to her, but never would admit that she was responsible for doing this.
Wow.
So now 3 years have passed. as the lawyers are preparing for her trial. But Vickie decided to plead no contest on 10 capital murder charges. She felt that it was very important to her that a jury never find her guilty of murder. She never admitted to it, and she was never convicted of murder, and this was very important to her. She was sentenced to life in prison, and at age 55, she remains incarcerated at Christina Melton Crane Unit at the Gatesville Prison. And she has the earliest possible parole in 2042.
It's like you have a life sentence, and how do you have a possibility for parole?
21 years. She's up for possible parole.
Yeah, and I guess people change quite a bit. I'm not.
I certainly wouldn't want this woman walking around the streets.
Hell no, nowhere close to a hospital. Like, she should be somewhere where there's not a hospital within hundreds of miles, and she doesn't have a. Gosh.
Well, I would imagine that her nursing license would be forever revoked.
Yeah.
But somebody that has the ability to just slide in and out of these people's rooms and do such awful things is capable of a lot.
Yeah, absolutely.
And a lot of her pictures online, I noticed she has very blank, soulless eyes.
Well, yeah, you're going to be showing this picture of this woman, that killed a bunch of people. Oh, gosh. It's just disgusting. Oh, man.
So that is the story of Vickie Dawn Jackson.
It's crazy that she was getting sloppier and sloppier, yet still she won't say that she did it.
That's what gets me.
Yeah.
That she never would take ownership of it and maintain that she wanted to help people and didn't do these things. Mm-hmm. I always hate that when somebody's caught and they just won't freaking admit it.
It's kind of like watching those, Datelines where they have no, ending to the story. It's like, and they're still on the loose and we don't know where they are.
I know.
Good luck sleeping tonight.
It's very hard. It's a tough pill to swallow, but at least she is behind bars.
Yeah, exactly.
Rather than some of these people who get by.
Right. Oh, God, what a horrible human being.
Well, especially when people are in the hospital, they're vulnerable and they are not in control of what's happening to them. They're taking meds that are handed to them. They're out of their comfort zone of their home and trusting the people that walk into the room. They are trusting them. I always remember that when I'm entering a patient's room. I'm in their space. I wait for them to invite me in. I knock on the door. Can I come in? Because I don't want to barge into their room. They have the right to have privacy.
And they're powerless, largely.
Very, very, very powerless in the hospital. And that's, I think, often, too, why some patients can be unruly, is because they're taking their fear in a form of, agitation.
Yeah.
And this nasty witch preyed on these people and killed them.
Yeah, they're there to, the most they can do is just kind of trust you that you're doing the right thing for them. And
sadly, too, the family members who are left to grieve, their family member is in the hospital trying to get care for their ailment, and they get killed.
Yeah.
It's just awful.
I mean, thank goodness the 14-year-old survived, but so many people that didn't need to die. Everybody
didn't need to die.
Nobody
needed to die.
No.
Even, I don't care if the woman was 100 years old, the first victim.
Yeah.
I don't care.
No.
She's a human being that wasn't meant to die like that.
Well, good thing there's, things like this need to happen so that we have more checks and balances in the system. And obviously the smaller towns probably don't have as much access to technology and checking in and out, but now it's a barcode thing. It's pretty
exactly
cheap. So it's cheap. You can identify it, and that's how we change and learn as a society, is by the mistakes we've made.
Exactly.
So, well, good. Thanks for researching that story.
Yeah,
that was
no
an interesting
problem.
one. Yeah, and the whole woman thing. It's a lot of white males is what you hear in the serial killer area.
Right. You do not hear of a lot of females doing these things,
Yes.
but they're definitely out there.
Yeah. So you're never safe.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, hey, thanks for researching it. We appreciate it. I'm on next week. I can't wait.
Yes, I can't wait to just kick back, sip my coffee, and do little to no work.
Yeah, it's going to be even better than yours, so watch out.
But thank you all for joining us, and we will see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.